I'm Neil Lachlan MacDonald, Minister in Lochbroom and Coigach, and I think it would be true to say that humanity has always looked upward. From the earliest civilizations, people have stared into the night sky and wondered, what's out there? I wonder, how far does it go? Are we alone? You only have to stand in Westeros on a dark, clear night and see the majesty of the sky to stir questions within you. And space has always stirred something within the human heart. Wonder, curiosity, even an element of anxiety or fear. Well, as you know, in April 2026, the world once again turned its attention toward the moon through NASA's Artemis 2 mission. It was a historic mission because for the first time in more than 50 years, astronauts would travel not just to the moon, but beyond the moon and around the far side of the moon, and in doing so, journey further from Earth than any human in history. And one detail about the mission was especially fascinating to me. And that was as the Orion spacecraft moved behind the far side of the moon, communication with Earth was lost completely. Contact was severed. For a period of time, the astronauts on that spacecraft were completely out of contact. No voices from mission control, no signals from the Earth. Absolute silence. Other than their colleagues on that Orion spacecraft, with them, they were completely alone in the universe, completely out of human reach or communication. I wonder what it would have been like to be in that moment, suspended in deep space, travelling at 3,000 miles per hour, the Earth obscured from view, no communication from home, feeling completely isolated. Most of us would find that deeply unsettling, because as human beings we were never designed for complete isolation. The Bible tells us, however, that we are never truly isolated. That even on the dark side of the moon, we are never truly alone. Because as we considered last week, the psalmist in Psalm 139 reminds us that the presence of God is everywhere. He speaks of God's omnipresence. There is no place in the universe from where God is absent. No depth, no darkness, no distant galaxy, no far side of the moon. There is nowhere that we can go where God is not already there. And Psalm 139 reminds us that even when we feel isolated, disconnected, or alone, we're never beyond the presence or the power of God himself. The Artemis 2 mission reminds us how enormous the universe truly is. Indeed, in many ways, it's beyond human comprehension. Even reaching the moon, humanly speaking, is an extraordinary challenge, a logistical challenge like no other, because the spacecraft must travel hundreds of thousands of miles through the vacuum of space with astonishing precision. One tiny miscalculation could spell disaster. The moon is our nearest cosmic neighbour. Beyond it are planets, solar systems, galaxies, and distances so large that our finite minds can really struggle to comprehend them. Elsewhere in the book of Psalms, the psalmist says in Psalm 19, "The heavens declare the glory of God." That creation points beyond itself to the one who has created it. That every star is a testimony to his power. That every galaxy speaks of his greatness. And so when we see rockets launch and astronauts journey into space, we're impressed by the human achievement, and rightly so. It is an amazing accomplishment. But every human accomplishment in space exploration is still operating inside a universe that God simply spoke into existence. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. There was no machinery. There was no countdown. There was no fuel systems. There was no mission control. Only the word of Almighty God, the one who is all-powerful and who is everywhere. He is omnipotent. The theological word omnipotence simply means that he possesses unlimited power. There is no force greater than God, no obstacle beyond him, no corner of creation outside his sovereign authority. Human power, on the other hand, is always limited. We run out of strength, we grow tired, we fail, technology falters, communication systems fail, we run out of fuel. But God never weakens, never diminishes, never loses control. The same God who created the stars holds the universe together in this very moment. If he were to take his hand away, everything that we see and know would vanish. And that matters, because the God who governs the galaxies is also the one who not only governs this earth and your life, but also cares about us. The psalmist in Psalm 139 asks questions like, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence?" David then imagines the most distant places that he can imagine. If I go up to the heavens, he says, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. In modern language, David is saying there is nowhere that I can go where I can escape the presence of God. If David had known about space travel, perhaps he might have written something like, "If I travel beyond the earth, if I journey behind the far side of the moon, even there your hand will guide me." That's the truth of Psalm 139. The astronauts of Artemis 2 may have temporarily lost communication with Earth, but they were never beyond God's sight, his knowledge, his presence, or his control. Because God is not confined by geography, not limited by distance, and not dependent upon satellites or radio signals. There is no dead zone with God, no place where prayer cannot reach him, no location beyond his care, no darkness beyond his sight. And honestly, that speaks not only to astronauts on the far side of the moon, but to every single one of us. Because sometimes we might feel emotionally stranded or spiritually isolated. At times we may feel forgotten. We might even feel as though we're living on the dark side of the moon emotionally, disconnected from everyone and everything else. Perhaps you've experienced that through grief or depression, loneliness or anxiety, disappointment even. Perhaps you at times sit in a crowd or in a crowded room and still feel alone. Psalm 139 reminds us that God has never lost sight of you. That even when others cannot reach you, God can. That even when no one else understands your struggles, God does. That even when communication with others breaks down, your access to God remains completely open. And that he is absolutely reliable. He is the one who we can trust in and rely upon wholeheartedly and without hesitation. Psalm 139 leads us not merely to information about God, but to confidence in him. Because if he is truly all-powerful and ever-present, then our lives are not governed by random chance, but we are created by and sustained by the God who created the stars and who rules the universe and who knows us personally and who walks with us daily. The astronauts of Artemis 2 carried sophisticated systems and advanced technology with them into space. But every Christian believer carries something greater with them day by day. The presence of God the Creator himself. And unlike earthly communication systems, his presence never fails. No signal loss, no blackout, no silence. So wherever you go, and whatever you do, know that God is already there. So when you feel alone, remember Psalm 139. When life feels dark, even hopeless, remember Psalm 139. When you feel emotionally stranded, as if you were on the far side of the moon, remember Psalm 139. For even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. The psalmist reminds us. And that, well, that's enough.